Entering the Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass Podcast. This for UFC Fight Island, Kattar versus Ige. I'm in the old Fight Island get up again. One, long weekend up there, braving the elements, and it's probably hiding the bags under my eyes. Two, I'm superstitious, like very, very superstitious, always have been. We had a big card last time. Might as well keep the good times rolling. And three, it's to block off the radiating sun that is coming from Cody Saftic, the hottest guy in the biz. Just
don't talk like that, man. I just won't.
Printing.
We had a good week. Let's have another good week.
I guess you got your Hawaiian t-shirt on so you can board your yacht from the looks of it. Congratulations on all the winnings.
Yeah, it's actually real cold on this Toronto desert island outside. Kind of a, not cold, I should say. It's kind of like a rainy, overcast type day.
Have you bought a yacht?
You know what? Talking about superstitious, now I feel like I should have taken my shirt off because I too am very superstitious.
You can take off your shirt at any
goalie.
There's
hockey. I played hockey goalie for, I don't know, 15 years. And we are known because you just hang out all by yourself.
Both goalies, by the way. Little known fact.
Yeah. Very superstitious people are goalies. Arthas Urbe, the most superstitious of them all.
Why would you wear that stupid helmet for so many years?
And he would leave it on the, he wouldn't take it to the dressing room between periods. He'd leave it on the bench. Like, it couldn't leave the ice once it came out to the ice. Guy was fucked.
All
but
right.
for an untalented goalie, guy won some big games, man. He could ball.
Absolutely.
So anyways, got the Hawaiian shirt on, and hopefully we can keep the good times rolling. We should be pretty honest off the hop. The card was Saturday, and both of us
I didn't get back into
mostly
civilization until about 3 o'clock yesterday, and I didn't get home until like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Watched the fights by like 9:30. So I haven't done tape study on this. So
take it with a grain of salt.
The takes are not going to be as hot. I haven't placed a bet on anything on this. So at CJ Saftic for Cody on Twitter, at Paul Shag for me, at the PME. Don't ask him any UFC questions, but
disagree.
But well, yeah, exactly. Ask him some DK questions because he was setting me on the right path, I think, this week. But yeah, Pat, you've got some winners and giveaways from last week's card that you want to let us know about. I'm terrible at reading these types of things. This is kind of Pat's jam, so yeah, he's pretty good.
We once had a thing where Paul used to make his notes on the back of a used Sig pack.
Yeah.
Then he would try to read out loud, and we would have a segment called Paul Reads Out Loud.
Paul reads things off Sig packs.
It was high comedy. I'm not going to lie to you.
It wasn't great.
So here are some people. So please, everyone, smash the like button for the episode. The engagement in the comment section. I don't read my comments, but I read the comments for Paul and Cody. Some great comments. And then there's some like absolute jabronis in the comment section who think they know things and clearly don't.
But I like comments, so feel free to give your 2 cents.
If you want to hate us or love us, just comment.
I get it. And I do
good
read
comments,
them.
bad comments, they all help the algorithm. So smash the like, leave your comment. Also, rate or review the Pat Mayo Experience and Dog and Pass podcast. 5 stars, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. Goes a long way to help keeping this show free. And based on some of these winners, you probably want to keep this free. So here's what we got. 4 viewers of this show and downloaders, whoever you might be out there, were 4 of the 19 lineups who tied for first in the Millionaire Maker this week on DraftKings. So each of those people won $66,000. I didn't say 100. I said $1,421. One guy entered the same lineup twice and got double that amount of money. So Dan Mells, the big winner, his 2 lineups, won $132,000, $824. Brandon Deary, 4K on DraftKings. D Papa 01, $8,100 on DraftKings. Matty Fallon, $66,000 on DraftKings with a single bullet in the Millionaire Maker. Jared Price, $66,000.
We love talking with a single bullet.
MMA DGen, $72,700 on DraftKings. Giordano J, first-timer listener to the show, he won $9,100. Nick Suarez, $1,900. Andy Kipmeyer turned $60 into $2,000. Hayden Stan, $1,900. Terrence turned $122 into $1,200, and Lawrence M, $33 into $1,200 as well. And that does not include all of the people that won gambling on this card, whether
that
it
was
be
just
the
DK.
Yuri second round finish prop at 10-1,
people want
whether it
big
was the
money.
giant
I'm happy about
parlays that Cody was giving out. I won a fuck ton of money. Paul won $9,000 on DraftKings. We
And
forgot
then
to
a
shout
lot
that
of other
out.
bets and a lot of things going on.
Yeah,
It was absurd.
So don't expect this every single week. Is all I'm
yeah,
saying.
that was us.
You missed your shot. Overall, I don't.
That was us in God mode.
So
this
here-
event, we're just kind of like, oh.
No, I want to get into it, buddy.
I
Like
mean,
whenever
I'm
you're ready.
expecting-
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
expecting
Whenever
big
you're
things from
ready.
Cody this
I'm
week.
pumped up. I'm
Take
pumped
everything
up.
I say with a grain of salt. But yeah, as the week goes on, weigh-ins and stuff, I'll have a better grasp. But I don't have, don't tail anything I say right off of this show. Look for clarification. See if we change. I'll make a point of like putting some of my thoughts on Twitter this week.
What he's
Last thing before I jump out of here in you guys' shoes and listen to your picks and try to win some more money. Two things. One, another UFC show will be coming later in the week.
Yeah.
There are two cards.
Lots
That's
of
one.
cards.
Two, I got bounced in the King of the Cage. I played 7 lineups on DraftKings. 6 of them would have advanced me. I picked the 7th one. So not great on that front.
Who's the apple pie shitter, Pat?
Cody's boy, not
I know,
Tybora,
I
the
know.
other jabroni. Frank.
You know
Dawes,
what? You
the
know
guy who
what?
played the
Pat,
Riddler,
Pat
the old
messaged me and
Batman.
he's like, "What do you think about Tabora?" I says, "I'd switch off Tabora. I don't like Tabora. We switch off. I did that on Twitter. Switched off from. But you know what? Would you have gone through if Tabora would have won? Because he still scored low. But you
Yeah, he
probably
did
would've
score
gone
low.
through,
It would
eh?
have been enough because I came 67th. I needed to come top 50.
Okay. So 2
But no,
points.
but hold on,
Two
hold
things
on,
I want to
hold
say.
on, hold on.
Wow, Cody.
Zerly's
You know what? You made all these other people money, and the one guy who makes you look good behind the scenes here, you lost him
Oh,
money.
no, I won money. I'm not going to pretend like I didn't, but I just got bounced from that one thing. But if Zerly Zalapski gets his rightful win, I
snooze
move
button.
through the snooze button. Who should have won? Also, I calculated all of the money that was won between all the screenshots that were sent to me between DraftKings and the gambling sites where people hit. Cody, how much do you think that minimum people won just based on those screenshots were?
420,000.
Over $700,000.
Wow. Well, you know what? I'm a big proponent for gambling, and during tough times, you got to do what you got to do. But yeah, just like Pat was saying, you want one bad pick, you could lose someone. Like that's how it goes, dude. And if Volkanovski drops that decision, and especially rewatching it, I think we won. It was a close fight. One little thing could go wrong. That's how gambling is. So you know what you're getting into. And with your summing up with this whole, geez, this card and now there's this spot. What
I
Paul's
haven't
saying,
done my research
was Paul saying
yet, and
was Paul
it's
saying-
on Wednesday. If this was a Saturday card and we're doing this on Wednesday, I'd be ready. But
The original
haven't
name
been
of the
around long
show
enough.
was Bookie Beatdown because the attention then, as it is now, was to beat down the bookie. Pat says, what was it, over 700,000?
Yeah.
That's what we just took from collective bookies. Let's not give it back, folks.
No,
However,
that was just DraftKings winners, I believe.
oh, poor
That
DraftKings.
was both.
Okay,
Well,
right,
there's more out
right.
there.
Because technically we like DraftKings.
He's not counting
so
all
let's-
my money in there either.
Let's not drain DraftKings too dry.
I mean,
Anyways.
let's get into the action.
Let's get going.
Let's patting ourselves on the back. Let's get back into it here. We've got Calvin Kattar taking on Dan Ige. Calvin Kattar minus 300 favorite. Dan Ige plus 250. What's your take here, Cody?
Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to take the plus 250 underdog right off the top, Dan Ige. I think that this is just a crazy price considering I think it's going to be a relatively close fight. I think it's going to go probably 5 rounds or at least deeper into the fight. Dan Ige is a guy that's just showing off tremendous durability. He's got a lot of heart. He's got cardio. Yeah, we have seen this guy hurt, but we've seen him battle back every time. When he does get into those deeper rounds, it seems like he just kind of finds that extra kick. This is going back to the Kevin Aguilar fight, right? Which 3-4 fights ago. But against Kevin Aguilar in the 3rd round, it looks like he's slowing down a little bit. He's known for his cardio, but he ever so slightly getting tired. He pushes through, and he gives this interview afterwards where he's like, oh, this is for everybody, that when you get tired and you think about quitting, you don't. You persevere, you push through. That's cool. Cool little prospect on his way up. Let's see what he's got to offer. Moving on beyond that, you just see him really starting to put the tools together. His boxing is largely improved. Again, when you do see him stung in fights, when you do see him, the Mirsad Bektic fight, it's a gut check performance fight. He's taken down. He's able to scramble back up. His boxing in the Bektic fight looks phenomenal. It's on point. He hurts Bektic many times. 1st round, I think he wins. 2nd round, he gets taken down by Bektic. 3rd round, it's close, but I do think he's the rightful winner of that fight. Going on to the Barboza fight, you see him get dropped by that left hook in the 1st round. He's hurt, but he's even hurt worse in the 2nd round by that knee to the liver. Badly hurt. Perseveres, chugs through. Now, I got Barboza bet at the time. So when they read Ige split decision, I'm pissed off, man.
Same
I'm pissed
here.
off. Right. But now you got to put on your rear view mirror, little sunglasses and see, geez, I got to move on. Looking back and rewatch the fight.
It's competitive.
It's
It was very
competitive.
close.
It's competitive.
We were just like we were talking about with Volkanovski. I just wanted to say something about that. I was talking to Pat just before we come on this. In this game, you're gonna get the bad decisions. You're gonna get the good decisions. You're gonna get the good side of the splits and the bad side. Just the more like over time, it's like so. I got the Volkanovski one, but there's so many bets that you're going to lose over time with these split decisions. When you have close fights, I don't feel good about having Volkanovski in a parlay when he's minus 220 based on the fact of how close that fight ended up being. But yeah, I've won and lost those decisions for years upon years. It's like that's just part of the game. So when people start freaking out about robbery, it's like I think you just bet the other side and lost, and you have sour grapes.
Okay, now, but what I'm saying is Dan Igue's last 2 fights against good opponents have been close, split decisions. Some people thought he won, some people just like you're saying, right? But right away, it's like, fuck, 250, and I'm expecting it to be another one of those close decisions. Like, why wouldn't... Same thing with Zumagulov, and I said this last week. Geez, he's plus 140. It's going to be a close fight. It's going to be a greasy decision. I expect him to get the greasy decision, and he did. Did he get robbed? Whatever. You get some, you lose some. It is what it is. I'm not bothered by it. But for the plus 140, plus 145, like, I wouldn't make the bet again because I know he lost. But it wasn't the worst bet in the world to make. So again, with Dan Ige, if he gives you a full effort and for whatever reason he comes up short on the scorecards, at least it was a decent bet at 250. But we're going back to the fact that close fight with Bektic, and people scored it against him, the judges give it to him. And that fight against Barbosa, close fight, a lot of people scored against him. But the judges, they give it to him. Then you get thinking, oh baby, Ali effect, full force. Dan Ige is not just a client of Ali's. In fact, he's not a client of Ali's at all. Right? No.
Watch the claims that you say here.
No, I'm unprepared because I know where you're going with this, and I'm too smooth for that. I don't want to give back all my money in legal defenses.
I don't want you to do that.
Dan Ige is good friends with Ali Abdelaziz, the greatest manager in the game. To my knowledge, I don't think he's managed by Ali Abdelaziz. I think Butler and Sucker Punch Entertainment are technically on paper. So that's strange in itself. When it's close decisions, Ige gets those close decisions. Since that Aguilar fight, you watch him, the boxing got way better. He himself has rounded out. Everything's rounded out. But the cardio has especially rounded out. So this goes back to, not my fucking accusation, so I'll just throw it out there. Mike Russell, who loves taking shots at Ali, so do with this information as you will. But this tweet was from April 11th, 2019, okay? He's referring to Ali when he says he's on TRT, and then as he says, he's on TRT, Ali in quotes. Dan Ige picks up his prescriptions for him. A manager reported it to USA Anti-Doping. I reached out for comment. Not sure if he's been tested since, but it's irresponsible and selfish for Ali to let him handle illegal PEDs for him so he isn't seen leaving the clinic. Then somebody in the comment section goes, Ige juicing too? Russell responds, no idea, but the fact is he's handling packages to protect Ali's image is a gross oversight of judgment by all involved parties. Maybe someone in the media who they haven't blocked can ask them. I can DM the clinic name and address he was seen leaving more than once, talking about Ige, okay?
Allegedly.
No, it's definitely allegedly, okay? So then a very interesting tidbit is during the commentary for the Merdside Bektic fight, Ali's front row fucking losing it, bud. Just screaming instructions. And they say, Ali Abdelaziz, Dan Ige's business partner. They don't call him his friend. They don't call him his manager. They call him his business partner. Kind of strange. Then you watch that Barbosa fight, and it's like the third round. This dude ain't getting tired, man. Like, he's just still chugging along. He's only 28 years old. He's in the prime of his life. I think he's like, I don't know. I think his birthday's like August 8th or something. So he's a few weeks removed from his 29th birthday. Prime of his life, improving every single fight. So now let's get off his nuts for a second and talk about Calvin Kattar, who is a absolute badass.
Probably the best boxer in the division.
Right. And I get him being the favorite. I just don't think he should be a minus 300 favorite.
Neither.
So he's absolutely crisp with the boxing. And for somebody that known as the Boston finisher had so many decision wins in his career, lately you just see his precision. Oh, it's really coming together.
You look great. But yeah, minus 300 is a massive price tag here.
Right.
Like, I think...
So then looking at Calvin Kattar is what I want to talk about. When you look at Calvin Kattar in these fights, right? Let's say the Renato Moicano fight, right? Or even the Shane Burgos fight. Shane Burgos, when Burgos is backing up Calvin Kattar, however the fuck you want to pronounce it. Kattar. I pronounce it Kattar. When he's fighting Burgos, when Burgos is backing him up, that's when Burgos has his most success. Competitive through 2 in the third round, Kattar catches him. The Renato Moicano fight, Renato Moicano just goes to the leg kicks over and over and over. He outstrikes Kattar like 102 to 33, but it's a great leg kick game plan. Going to the Zabit fight, Zabit's first 2 rounds, Zabit's pushing Kattar back. And Kattar says after the fact, you know what? I got a slow start. I just didn't start in the first 2 rounds. But what it was is Zabit's pushing him back in the first 2 rounds. When Zabit tires in the third, and Kattar's allowed to finally move forward, that's when Kattar has all the success. Moving on from that, you have the Jeremy Stephens fight. Jeremy Stephens wins the first round. Jeremy Stephens is in this motherfucker's face in the first round. He's being aggressive. In the second round, he starts to tire, and so he starts to back up. Then as soon as he gets stung once, he starts to back up. Kattar just swarms this guy. That's where I think this one will go different. Dan Ige moves forward a lot. He's a pressure type fighter. His boxing is good enough that I think shouldn't be able to hang with Kattar for the entire fight standing, but being able to mix up the wrestling here and there, try to get this guy down, try to grind him up against the cage, make this a close fight. He's been getting close decisions. He's in Abu Dhabi. He very is much in the cards to get a close decision in this fight. And I think for that reason, Dan Ige, a live dog at plus 250, and it would be my pick in this spot. And again, we could talk a lot more about Calvin Kattar here and how good he is, but the bottom line is my fucking pick is Dan Ige. And I'm going to definitely watch all the tape in the world that I can, but unless this price comes down a massive amount, I'm still going to pick Dan Ige.
Pat, you have something to say?
Dan Ige, 6-1 by decision.
6-1 by
5
decision.
rounds is a long round.
5 rounds a long round.
We haven't
is a lot
seen
of
these
rounds.
guys go the 5 rounds the same way.
Dan Ige is also a BJJ black belt. He's got good submissions. He saw through lesser competition on the ground. It's just
finished
Kattar's
like in
no
round
joke.
4 or 5.
Yeah.
We just don't have enough. I don't know.
I would bet it straight up because it's already 250. I would bet straight up because it's already 250.
And
However,
see how the week plays out.
6-1.
Or the
I
few
will
days.
admit, a guy like me would have some small shares of
Yeah.
that as well. But
I
the
don't
real
think
call is if you're just going to take him.
Yeah, I'm just
take him.
I think I'm just taking the 250. Be on my way. We got Tim Elliott taking on Ryan Benoit. Tim Elliott minus 125. Benoit plus 105. My God. Knee-jerk reaction is I want to bet Tim Elliott. And, like, he's just looked lost. Lost for, especially like since he's been in Vegas. Since he left like Glory MMA and Fitness and he was with James Krause and those guys there, that was the best he ever looked. That's when he had his title run. That's when he was on The Ultimate Fighter and all of the successes. He went out to Denver. I think that worked out okay, but I don't know. He's been very active, obviously, during the COVID era here, but he's just looked like he doesn't have more than a round's gas. This is a fight that I feel like he should be able to win. So I want to bet Tim Elliott. Can we trust Tim Elliott, Cody?
Well, can you trust Tim Elliott? The answer to that question will probably always be no. However, in this case, we're going to have to trust Tim Elliott because he's going to be the official pick on the spot. You'll be happy to know after he got clowned out his last time out, left Las Vegas, went back to Glory MMA Fitness in Kansas. He's only been there for 3 weeks. Gina Mazzani went with him.
Good.
But that's got to put him in a better place. James Krause and Grant Dawson are his cornermen. They're the guys that have traveled with him. So you know he's straight up.
Yep.
It's just focus about this guy. When this guy's on, there's no doubt, and we'll talk about DK at the end of the show.
Awkward.
Tim Elliott, Tim Elliott is a wrestling machine, and Ryan Benoit can wrestle himself, by the way. But Tim, he'll just get you down. He'll just get you down, and he'll keep grinding away at you. You're absolutely right. It does look like he's been getting fatigued, and I think that we've been associating that to the time in Thailand, and the time in Vegas, and the hanging out on the zombie mummified mode on the Vegas Strip, and like, what's this guy doing? And he's got a girlfriend now, and she's a bartender on the Vegas Strip, and a pro wrestler, and sometimes a UFC fighter, depending on if it's a late notice dropout. But just like, what's this guy's lifestyle? And at least him being back in Kansas, I would think
it's probably a good thing.
That even if he had the exact same cardio that he had in the Brendan Royval fight, right? If he had the exact same cardio as he did in that fight, he would use it better because he shot 117 takedowns in the first round against. I'm joking, but you know what I mean. He takes Royval down 4 or 5 times in the first round. He's just chain wrestling him, and he gasses himself out. Now, it's important to know Brendan Royval's 5'9", and because he trains in Denver at altitude, he doesn't really slow down. So I think Elliott trying to take down this much bigger guy eventually played dividends over time, right? Where he was able to slow down. When you look at Ryan Benoit, 5'5", he's a much smaller man, and in fact, he's a career 125-pound fighter. This fight is at 125 pounds, and so I want to talk about that in a second. But with Elliott, at least he's in a good place, and he puts that wrestling together. He makes better use of his cardio, and he has maybe, I wouldn't say a striking advantage. He's way too loopy, but he's a tricky type fighter where he can land a couple eye-appealing shots and then get to that shot. If he does that, he should be able to grind away at Ryan Benoit, tire him. Benoit doesn't have great cardio, and get that decision. So now let's talk about Ryan Benoit. He's just had all types of inactivity in his career. Prior to him fighting his last fight against Haile Adelang, which was just under a year ago, he had taken a 2-year gap since that. He beat Ashkan Mokhtarian We all know your feelings about the trash can
He's in
Mkhitaryan.
jail now too, isn't he?
And he went three
Trash
rounds.
can?
He went 3 rounds. He knocked him out in the 3rd round, but it wasn't like it was an overwhelmingly good performance. Now, this is where I'm going with this. He comes in at 129 against Trash Can. So he missed the flyweight limit. And you know what? He's kind of a big fucking flyweight to begin with. Misses the limit, comes in at 129, doesn't look good against Ashcan. He takes 2 years off. Now he's a 29-year-old man. Now he's filling out, okay? So he naturally moves to 135 pounds against Michailidis, okay? In the post-fight interview after the fight, he says, they say, would you like to go back to 125 and fight 135? He says, you know what? I felt real good at 135. If I'm traveling internationally, if I'm going to any show outside of the US, like if I've got to do some traveling, I'll fight at 135. If I've got to fight close to home, I can still make 125.
We're overseas and he's fighting at 125. He's
Right.
already went back
so
on that,
this
Cody.
is a fight where you're going to have to watch for the weigh-ins, okay? I think Benoit
Fair.
either struggles mightily to make the weight or comes in looking like fucking shit. And then after a competitive first round where Tim just tries to take him down a pile of times, he will tire. And despite this guy's been wrestling since he's like 6 years old. I think he was a state wrestling champion in Texas, but he never really advanced past that. And his inactivity in MMA is just, I don't think he's made the necessary improvements, whereas Tim Elliott just gets guys down. And so for that reason, he's a fantastic DK play, and at minus 125, he would be the play. I couldn't tell you by submission or by decision because Tim Elliott is just an absolute wild card. Like if he's really on his game and if somehow he's in that right place he used to be, he could finish guys. Absolutely could finish guys. If he's more trickster, float on the outside and try to use his chain wrestling guy, could still win the fight, but probably won't get you that submission. So that's a little bit different. But you don't need the submission when you get 15 takedowns. So. 15 takedowns. Well, I mean, he scored 12 earlier in his career. I doubt he'll get 15. But in this spot, it's important to know. This is my last point. We can move on. We've probably spent too much time on this. It's the co-main event, though. What the fuck?
I mean, it's a Wednesday card. We can't complain too much. It's a Wednesday card.
The Haley,
There's some good violence
the Hailey Alatang fight, which is in China, I'm pretty sure. But anyways, the first round, they're just banging away, right? And he's getting the better of the striking exchanges, mostly striking exchanges. But he does get clipped and he does kind of get dropped by Alatang. Doesn't matter. Recovers. I still give him the first round. Second round, he goes out there, close round, right? Mostly striking. I scored the second round for him as well. So I thought I got robbed on the split decision. This is the point though. In the third round, Alatang, who's pretty much gassed at this point and realizes he's losing the striking exchanges, is just like, fuck it, I'll try to wrestle him, and takes him down 3 times in the third round, right? And takes him down. Geez, Benoit starts to fade. Benoit starts to allow the takedowns, and when he does get taken down, his get-ups aren't all that good. So that's all just reasonings. I think Tim Elliott will be able to squeak this one through.
We got Jimmy Rivera taking on Cody Stamman. Jimmy Rivera minus 135, Stamman plus 115. We haven't seen Jimmy Rivera in quite some time. And Stamman, obviously coming off of his last fight, he fought at 145, Brian Kelleher. He looked great in that spot. They were asking him if he was going to stay at 145. He's like, nah, 135 is my division, and I think that was kind of the right thing.
I'm under the impression this fight's at 145.
Is that at 145?
That's what I'm under the impression of.
Interesting. Well, I mean,
Pat, you can side check that if you want, but I
don't have that in front of me right now. You have it
on Tapology. They got it as 45.
Okay,
fight.
I trust Tapology.
Jimmy hasn't fought in 45 since 2009, but
he's like 5'4".
Yeah,
he's really, really small. I don't like him at
decent reach,
145 at all. What do you think about this fight?
Okay, so honestly, I'd love to get behind Cody Stamman. As we talked about, literally fought 4 weeks ago, and he was my Cody combination with Garbrandt. Those were good times. The leg kicks really do kind of worry me in this spot because Stamman likes to stay on the outside. He's got a very wide stance, and he likes to move a lot. And when Jimmy is just like, it's debilitating and crippling leg kicks, man. Like you stand in front of him, he just chops away at you. And even guys like Peter Yan, who we just saw win a vacant. And here's another thing with Jimmy Rivera. You talk about, wow, we haven't seen this guy in a while, and geez, he's lost 3 of his last 4 fights. And okay, so his last loss is to Peter Yan, who he went the distance with, who is the current interim UFC champion. The loss before that was to Aljamain Sterling, who he went the distance with. That fight, Aljamain Sterling is the current #1 contender to Jimmy Yan's newly crowned strap. And then 2 fights prior to that was Marlon Moraes, who was a former title challenger and also the last man to knock out the #1 contender, Aljamain Sterling. That's just the creme de la creme of guys to be fighting. So losing against them, I don't know. And even just the fight with Peter Yan, first round's competitive. You might even say Jimmy's winning. Based on the leg kicks, by the way. The leg kicks are just on point. But he gets dropped near the tail end of the first round, so he probably loses that round. The second round, man, he's competitive. He's doing good. But he gets dropped at the tail end of the second round. So now he's behind on the scorecards. Peter Yan just never stops, as you saw this weekend against Jose Aldo.
Never stops.
Again, very tough fight. But I do think that if Jimmy Rivera is getting a guy and Cody Stamman doesn't finish nobody, this is
Does
no
not
disrespect to
have
Cody
the
Stamman.
stand-up game of a Peter Yan.
Yeah, no, his stand-up game is largely improved, and I was really happy to see that fight against Brian Kelleher. He used his jab a lot better. He used some decent leg kicks, but the facts are facts, and these are his fights in the UFC. Terrion Ware by decision, Duquesnoy by decision, Caraway by decision, Alejandro Perez by decision. He got robbed in the Song Yadong decision, and he went to decision with Brian Kelleher. Some of these guys are not even known for durability, and he's still going to decision with them. So I don't expect him to go out there and knock out somebody of the caliber of Jimmy Rivera, who just went fucking the distance with the two best guys in the division outside of Henry Cejudo, recently retired. So if he's going to win, he's going to have to stay on the outside, use his jab, and chip away at him. And the numbers in his last fight are decent against Brian Kelleher. I think he lands 80 significant strikes. That's only the second time in his career he's landed 80 significant strikes. Jimmy Rivera not known for output either.
No.
But it's the power, right? It's the power is that Stamman hits you. If Stamman hits you 80 times and Jimmy hits you 80 times, Stamman, it's point fighting a little bit. He's not a point fighter. He's got point fighting power, right? Like he's not really gonna hurt
he
you
wants
all that
to.
bad.
He wants.
He's
to,
trying to fucking knock you out.
I mean, he's using his striking to set up his wrestling.
Yes.
99% of the time.
Right, but
not
taking
90% of the time.
and there's another great point is that he's taking down his last 5 opponents. He scores takedowns in all of his
tough
fights.
when Jimmy
Taking
Rivera
Jimmy
is
downs.
just built like a stovepipe. He's so short. It's tough to get underneath those hips.
He's
Secure
he's
takedowns.
extremely hard to take down because he's 5'4". And then here's the interesting part about that: he's 5'4", but he packs a 68-inch reach, right? Whereas Cody Stamman at 5'6" has a 64-inch reach. So despite being 2 inches taller than Cody Stamman,
Giving
it's
up
actually
4
giving him
inches of
4
reach.
inches in the reach department.
That's big.
And that's something that Jimmy's actually been able to lure you. He can hit you with the jab from the outside, and then as you come in is when he chops away at you. And then the last point is that Stamman really fought Brian Kelleher right in his fucking face. His brother had passed away 5 days prior. He was probably in an emotional state. He hadn't let the grieving process begin yet. And he went out there motivated and stuck in Kelleher's face, and it was a great game plan. Sticking in Jimmy's face, probably not the game plan, because if you do stay in that range, he's going to use his most effective weapon, which is the leg kick. So... And Jimmy's in good shape, I'll tell you. But Jimmy's been campaigning for a fight on Twitter for a while. He's been saying, man, I want to get in there. Man, I'm in good shape. Man, I'm ready. Man, I've been training. And Stamman has been as well, and he just fought. But imagine your brother dies. You get it, and you have a lot of brothers. I have a brother. Imagine your brother passes away, and you
make me cry
competed,
here.
right? And you competed at the highest level, and you picked up this huge emotional win. And then 4 weeks later, you're back in there. I almost feel like there would be a grieving process in that 4 weeks, where it's like, oh, dude, I just won this fight. My emotions are settling. I'm having an adrenaline dump. I can finally cry and be like, man, something tragic occurred to me in my life. But he just rebooks another fight in Abu Dhabi on an island, going against Jimmy Rivera, who, no offense, but Jimmy Rivera don't give a fuck about anybody's personal story. He needs a win here. He needs to win bad. And he's campaigning for a big fight on Twitter. I'm going to assume he's in shape. If he is in shape, going to be a close fight. But I got Jimmy Rivera, and because it's 135, I'm taking Jimmy Rivera specifically by decision.
What you got, Pat?
It's 145.
It's at 145.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what we figured. Yeah.
And that could be could have been a problem. Could have been a problem, let me tell you.
They're both 135ers, so.
Yeah, they're both 135ers. Jimmy fought at 145 back in 2009, and Stamman has fought at 145 as recently as his last fight. He also fought his UFC debut against Terrion Ware at 145 pounds, so he's got the more recent experience. Jimmy Rivera, though, he fought Dennis Bermudez on season 14 of The Ultimate Fighter to get into the house at 145. He got knocked out. And then dropped back down to 135, and those are all of his fights. So him going back up to 145, if he was fighting a puncher, I'd think a narrative could be, Jimmy might not be able to take the heat. But because it's Stamman, Stamman will really have to fight a perfect game plan, stick to the outside, and just jab away at this guy, not engage. I don't know. So 135 is a good enough price that I would take Rivera. I would take Rivera by decision to get some extra points on it, and close fight. But that would be the pick. I'm not super confident but that's the pick.
Molly McCann takes on Talia Santos. Molly McCann minus 120, Santos plus 100. Any takes here?
So I would love to break down this fight, and we will, and we'll talk about it. But so maybe like a little bit of backdoor fuckery going down is that when you break down this fight, it seems Molly McCann all day, right? I mean, let's just look at it from the surface, right? Molly McCann's been looking pretty good her last number of fights in the UFC. Good enough, not great, like you're saying, but.
I didn't really say anything. I just
Well, you went so I could feel you're on the fence about that. So I
mean,
want
who'd
to shove it in your
Who'd
face.
she
I want to
beat?
shove it in your fucking
Who'd
face
she
in a second
beat?
here.
She catch a beating.
Let me start. Okay, so she
that
loses.
doesn't
She
really
loses
count.
after being the Cage Warriors champ. She loses to Jillian Robertson. We laughed. Everyone
Got
laughed at the time, but Jillian ended up being a decent grappler. Okay,
Wasn't even close.
the catch a beating fight. Yeah, the eyes swelled up. But she landed 107 significant
Almost
strikes.
got finished in round 3 as like a minus
Only
300.
if the doctor stopped
as
it.
a
She was
minus
not going
300
anywhere.
favorite against catch a beating.
But she landed.
It's dicey.
But she landed.
That's dicey.
But she landed 107 significant strikes in that fight. Then against Ariane Lipsky, the former KSW champion, a former Muay Thai champion.
a win, but they couldn't.
And Molly McCann then landed 108 significant strikes, right? So she landed 107. Now her next fight against Lipsky, 108. And then the last fight against Diane Belbita, she lands 113 and 5 takedowns to boot.
Yeah.
A great DraftKings play, by the way. 113 significant strikes and 5 takedowns. Plus, she got 5 passes on the ground.
Yeah.
Fucking great. This is she's always in your face. She's always throwing leather. She's always grinding.
Meatball.
Not really much of a finisher.
Cody's team meatball.
But she's no. That's what I'm saying. This is gonna be a pass at the end of the day because some backdoor fuckery. You should pick Meatball. I'm saying on the surface, 3-fight winning streak in the UFC, landed over 100 significant strikes in all 3 of those, won clear decisions in all 3 of those, momentum on her side. Taylor Santos is 0-1 in the UFC. That loss was to Mero Romero Barella, and it occurred a year and a half ago. Okay,
That's horrible.
Barella is looked terrible. Okay, Barella doesn't have the tools that Molly McCann has, and would not win a fight against Molly McCann.
Fair.
Right? Okay. Molly McCann was rightfully a minus 300 as of this morning.
What?
And is currently sitting as a minus 120.
Really?
Yeah. So there has to be something. There has to be something.
Did I?
No, I thought you did too. But
Down to minus 110 now.
As soon as you wrote it, I
Down to
thought
minus
that
110.
doesn't make any sense. I looked at this line this morning and I saw down to 110.
You smell that?
No, I smell it right now, motherfucker. That's why I'm bringing it up. As I just told you, Molly McCann should fucking beat her.
When did they book this fight? Was that a soft opener and like some jabroni threw $100 on it and he's actually a half decent better and that just like
$100? Yeah,
Like,
that moved the line that much.
How long is
Paul.
no? I know, but some of those like when did this line get released? How many days ago? Because if it was like open this morning,
well, yeah,
sometimes they
he'll
open
be
it at
able to check
minus
that
300 and it just gets it like it wouldn't take like more than like $1,000 to just move these lines like all over the place.
I actually don't think so.
On a few spots, Santos is the favorite now.
And does it tell you when the line opened? Because it actually sometimes does.
I don't know how to fucking look for that in
Yeah,
UFC.
whatever.
Yeah,
Either
okay.
way.
Doesn't matter. Fuck, I get mad like
I need
hiccups
to know
and
that,
burps
but,
and coughs today. I'm
yeah,
off.
that's fishy. That is very fishy.
Extremely fishy. So, and before I even, because you got to always look at the opponent. So we talked about Molly McCann, and the one thing I will admit against Taylor Santos is that at standing only 5'5", she actually looked pretty big against Mero Romero. She's got some big legs on her. She's also pretty young at that time. I think she fought Barella. She was like 25. She's only 27 now. In the Barella fight, the first 2 rounds, she gives up takedowns. In that 3rd round, her cardio checks out, was not tired, storming forward, trying to land strikes. It's just the suffocating game of holding her against the cage and taking her down was just too much for her. I expect that even though she's had 3 fights fall off, you haven't seen her in almost 16 months, I expect that we're going to see a better version of her. But in no way should a fighter, she's 15-0. She fought nobody. She came to the UFC and she lost to Barella on a split, which she may have won in my opinion, but it doesn't matter. She lost to Bergh on a split. And now after a 16-month layoff, she's taking on Molly McCann, who's just been active and is on a nice little streak and is the type of fighter that absolutely beats Santos. And so the reason why the line moved that much, maybe somebody's there and somebody realizes Molly looks like she had a bad weight cut and Santos looks huge. I don't know. I don't know. I ain't there.
Pat?
I'm looking at an opening line article from DKNation.DraftKings.com. Shout out to them. But this is from July 12th, so yesterday at 10:26 a.m. Pacific. So basically like noon Eastern. And the line is exactly the same as it is now. It's like minus 110, minus 110.
Okay. So like that was probably a soft open. That got steamed. A bunch of people piled on there. It's like, that line seems out of control.
Or that was only available in like one spot, and then it just adjusted to the rest of the market.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about it later, but the pick as of last night was Jack Shore 550, and then Jack Shore moved to 7 very quickly. but it happened like so fast.
Yeah, of course.
This kind of happened like, I don't know, I think a few hours ago. So that's what has kind of got me. It might be a soft open. You know what? I'm gonna admit
Cody's got
it
greasy theories
It
on
moved
this.
so many points. It must have been soft open. It must have been soft open. That's why I moved so many points. But there's got to be something to be said why suddenly people think Taylor Santos is gonna win.
So let's look at the weigh-ins for that one before making any sort
and,
of...
and if you see Molly McCann start going back to 300, then maybe it's like, oh, it was all smoke and mirrors. Then maybe jump back on her before she gets.
Yeah.
If you can restart, I didn't like 3-1, but I like 220. You know, that's what I would have capped it as. She's got to be the
She's minus
perceived
120 now,
favorite.
buddy. Let's just watch watch the weigh-ins.
Don't put
on
on all your
that. We'll have
tickets,
a
man.
better
So
idea.
be some dirty fuckery.
I finally did this.
You back-engineered it?
Yeah, I back engineered it to see when the line was minus 300. Cody's right, but it was at the exact opening Thursday, June 18th at 4:48 Eastern time.
The
And
line's
then
been
it's-
open
and
for a
an
while.
hour later, it normalized.
Soft open.
Soft open.
So yeah, don't pay attention to that.
An
open
hour.
line.
It opened. You're saying June
They open
8th.
them. They open the lines at that book that does that. They open them. They open them whatever they think it should
Why
be,
was
and
she?
then
Why
when
was she
people start
3-1?
pounding,
Why was she 3-1 yesterday?
they know that they've made a mistake. Or
Did you
what-
see
what-
it 3-1 yesterday? Just you don't need to say the book, but like, did you actually see it, or was it like someone
Man,
on
are
the
you
internet?
fake
I,
news?
No,
Is
no,
this
no,
fake
no.
news,
No,
Cody?
no. I saw it right on Best Fight Odds, and then when I clicked on her, it showed her as being 3-1, which is actually what I saw. And then I was like, huh, that's actually very surprising to me. But Molly
Interesting.
McCann would be the pick. Like I don't.
All right, Molly McCann is the pick.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Clearly.
Well, let's watch.
clearly
I'm gonna
some-
watch the weigh-ins
Clearly,
before I
something
make
doesn't
any
smell right.
any bets on that one. Yeah, something is rotten in the state of Denmark. We got Abdul Razak Alhassan coming back from legal issues. Thank God he got that all sorted. We don't have to get into any of that. He got.
Kind of a
He
dirty
was not
case.
charged with it, and who knows?
Yeah,
I don't know any of the details of
It's not
it.
our spot to get into.
People do
that
not
shit.
come to us to talk about what happened in those types of situations. He takes on Munir Lazzez, who can be had for plus 275. Alhassan, absolute murderous power puncher. The guy's built like a shit brick house. He's gonna come out aggressive. He's gonna look for a finish. This is
a brick
Yeah,
shithouse.
I say that wrong all the time.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
say lots of things.
I say
wrong
things
all the
wrong
time.
all the time too, so
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. We're just trying to get
Yeah.
our thoughts out there.
But
I know what he meant.
People get the idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's really good. He comes out and like for DraftKings purposes, which we'll talk about at the end of the show. This guy's gonna come out and try to finish you in the first round,
Absolutely.
and he's gonna probably, if he finishes you in the first round, he's getting a knockdown.
Yeah.
Somebody's
yeah,
getting knocked down. He's
yeah,
not.
yeah.
He rarely takes people down. I know that he has a judo background, but the guy just likes to throw his hands, and he throws them hard. I see Lazzez. I haven't done tape on him yet. I see that he's a stand-up guy. Is there anything that we should be fearful of here, or is it Alhassan? Alhassan round one. Alhassan by knockout. Is that what we're looking at here?
Yeah, absolutely. And then when I do tweet out like my best parlays, he'll be included in a lot of them. But honestly, here, just think about this. Don't put him on all your parlays for the simple fact that
He's been on for a long time.
He's 34 years old, right? When we last saw him in action, 32. That is considered still the prime, the tail end of your prime. But then 2 years off because of legal issues and not knowing, is the UFC even going to allow me to compete? Am I going to jail? Is it worth going to the gym and training twice a day when who knows what my freedom is going to look like? And then the case ends up falling apart. Back in the UFC. So, and the UFC has private guys that'll look into stuff as well, right? Same reason that Perry's not going to be fighting. They would have had to have cleared him of any wrongdoing. So I'm not going to sit here and say Razak
Yeah, but we
Alhassan's a
don't-
piece
yeah.
of shit because like
We have no
they
idea.
tried
I
to
don't-
the
I don't
articles.
know about the details of it.
Look
So
into
you don't
yourself.
need-
Look
yeah,
into yourself.
yeah.
Make your own judgment. So, anyways, now he's back in the UFC. He's 34. He hasn't fought in just shy of 2 years, right? When you do see him in action, holy crap! The Sabah Homasi fight absolutely KO'd him. The Sabah Homasi fight absolutely KO'd him. And then the Nico Price fight. Nico Price loves to dance. He absolutely blows through him. But these are 3 first-round knockouts. The loss to Omari Akhmedov, it was simply just stretch this guy. Get this guy out of the first round.
Of course. That's
A lot
that's
of
the
his
way to
wins
do
are
it.
all exactly same thing. In fact, you would have to go. He's never not finished a guy in the first round. Okay, his wins. His record is 10-1. Right, he's got 10 first-round knockouts and a loss by split decision because it just went longer. So now you have to have faith on Munir Lazzez to get out of the first round. And good news for you. You know, he's 9-1. His one loss by decision to a very tough Russian guy. Maybe he's got some durability. No, I don't think so. He's so stiff and rigid that he's going to be easy to hit. And you got to be at least evasive or as tough as nails in order to get hit. Omari Akhmedov, pretty tough as nails. And surprisingly evasive enough in the early going of fights, but was able to survive. I don't think this guy survives. He's not fought anybody decent other than his loss to Alderov. And in Alderov's case, Alderov is currently, keep this in mind.
Akhmedov was a monster at 170, like so big. He's fighting 185 now, and he still looks big.
Yeah, and Alderov is 12-1 as a professional, 1 knockout victory. Not a power puncher at all. Suffocating, wrestler type, take you down, grind away at you. So him going the distance against Alderov, not all that impressive. Him fighting a real legit power puncher spells disaster. Even though he's $9,200, as far as DraftKings goes, you're going to want some Razak Alhassan. As far as the, 335, you can bet him by knockout for a bit of a better price. Maybe you try to get him in first round knockout and try to hit a prop like that. All those things, you can chase all that all you want, perfect. But as far as putting him on all your parlays as a lock, that's where it becomes greasy. That's where it becomes dicey, just because there are some unknowns with this guy coming in 2-year layoff, 34 years old, all this crazy shit in his life, and he's a patented needs to knock you out quick or doesn't have a great gas tank.
Fair.
Gonna have a worse gas tank now than he did when he was 32 and not traveling all the way to some random island in Abu Dhabi. Think about that. So it could be an apple pie shitter. That's what I'm looking at.
The first round prop is only plus 125.
Yeah,
Better than 335, my man.
as it should
Minus
be. Like that's how he wins.
yeah,
fights.
he's won 10 fights exactly like that.
Yeah.
And by the way, Manur Aziz is literally the
Maybe
best
he
guy.
starts slow, but like that's even at plus 120. He's a minus 335 favorite. Like I have no intention of betting him by decision. If he gets out of round 2, like I don't have very much faith in him to win round 3. But maybe he's taken this time off and worked on all of those holes in his game. And if that's the case, I mean, he is 34 years old. It's hard to make all of those improvements. Maybe he's slowed down a little bit, but if he has improved his cardio in this time off, he's going to be a real problem for the next couple of years at least.
Yeah, well, 34. Yeah, no, the time's now. He's got to go out there and knock this guy out. And I bet you he's chomping at the bit, anxious to get at it. So, that is the pick. I'm just saying, a little bit of buyer beware for myself.
We got Hazmat Chimaev taking on John Phillips. Chimaev, promotional newcomer, 6-0. Is a minus 335 favorite. Phillips, the white Mike Tyson, I believe is his nickname.
Wow, they don't let him use it
They
anymore.
don't let him use that nickname.
Yeah,
That's the nickname he would like to call himself.
Yeah.
Is plus 275. I'm guessing. I haven't watched tape on Hazmat yet, but I assume that he has a decent wrestling or grappling game, and that is why he's a minus 335 as a promotional newcomer against John Phillips, who does not really have much of a ground game.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to go on record to say it's probably another soft opener because it should be at least minus 500 for Chimaev. Chimaev's actually definitely a Russian, and he definitely I'm pretty sure he's one of those Dagestani wrestling
trains
champions.
at All Stars,
right? But he does live and train full time in Sweden, and they recognize him as like a Swedish prospect. However, don't let that fool you. He grew up on those same rugged mats as so many other decorated champion wrestlers, and the guy's got the goods. He seemingly, is able to wrestle very well. He's also, it looks like he's not the biggest guy. Like, put it this way: this fight is at 185 pounds, right? He's a welterweight. He's got the height to be a middleweight, but he doesn't have like the density, like the thickness to be a middleweight. And so Phillips' only chance of winning in any fight is lighting you up. There's a reason they call him. Like now they call him like the Welsh wrecking machine or something stupid. Yeah. He's the white Mike Tyson, and he has got a minute and a half, 2 minutes, maybe 3-4 minutes of cardio at the absolute most, and he will absolutely destroy you with his punching power. But he's so lazy, dude, and just like as his career's progressed, he's just not there anymore. He just routinely goes through the motions in all these fights, and you see very much his 3-fight losing streak. He beats Alan Domandowski. He beats Alan Domandowski the way he could potentially win any fight. He just clubs him like 14 seconds into the fight and knocks him out. That's what keeps him relevant. That's what keeps him exciting. Nobody thought he should have had a fight in the UFC being on a 3-fight losing streak, but they give him one more because, hey, he could be exciting. And he delivers. But like that's not a consistent way to win. Does he have a puncher's chance? Absolutely there's a puncher's chance. If you're going to play 100 DK lineups and you're looking for a punt, then yeah, he's a great punt on any time you're playing multiple lineups, but he's not the safe play. And looking at Chimaev, it's hard to find solid tape of him, like full fights of him, but it's easy to find highlights and clips and whatnot. And just like he's very tenacious with his wrestling and very suffocating. And you said it yourself.
That's a terrible matchup for John Phillips.
Absolutely. And then the last thing you need to consider for yourself here is that if you guys are team Kazmat Chimaev, who looks like a very nice little prospect here, okay? He's undefeated. He trains at All-Star, a good gym. He's got good management. Why would you allow him to take a fight up a weight class in the UFC? Because it's just such a perfect matchup. So they've got faith in their man that even though they're giving up some size here, he is going to get this fight to the ground. And when he does get this fight to the ground, that's where just Phillips not only has
either
bad takedown
dominates or
defense,
find a submission or you ground and pound.
and it's not even Phillips' takedown.
But he'll control it.
His takedown defense is very poor, but it's when he is on the ground, he just can't get back up. And that is very bad against a chain wrestler and a guy with a suffocating top game.
100%.
So Chimaev 335 seems like it's going to be one of the picks of the week type play. But because he's making his UFC debut and he's only 6-0, he's not one of these take it to the bank. He's a fucking lock. It looks like from what we've seen, he should be able to hang. But Phillips has got 31 pro fights, has fought in the UFC, has got big knockouts. Like, again, buyer beware, but him and Razul Alhassan, guys like that, parlayed together, that should be considered your safe plays.
We got Ricardo Ramos taking on Lerone Murphy. Ramos minus 165. Murphy plus 145. What you take here?
Yeah, I don't really have much of a take here. This is another one that I'm going to have to physically sit back down and look at. I was touting him going into the Zubaira to Hugov fight as potentially being a decent prospect and maybe like a guy that could spring an upset. He was a 245 underdog. I thought it would be a close fight. He showed me what I want to see in that fight and ended up being a draw. People thought he lost. Didn't fucking matter. He's a 245 dog. Like, again, this is a developing prospect, but he has not fought since then, and that was almost a year ago. He was supposed to fight Gabriel Benitez, got canceled due to coronavirus. Being off that year, he's only 28. I expect improvements out of him, but I just don't know. He struggled maybe against, I don't know. Honestly, I thought he looked like a very good developing prospect, by the way, in that fight against Tuhugov. Tuhugov, a more experienced, more seasoned veteran, you knew was going to use his wrestling, has shown off to have good striking. He had advantages everywhere, but Lerone Murphy was just kind of crafty and stuck around. And then looking at Ricardo Ramos, again.
He looked like an exciting prospect when he was first coming in.
Yeah, but he almost seems half brittle. Like, he's very hittable.
We question his chin. He's definitely hittable. So, and historically, as a prospect, he was just so wild and crazy, which could get him in trouble against a lot of different guys. I don't know if Lerone Murphy is one of those guys, is the question.
You know what's funny?
Like, is this the level where he's... I mean, do we have to worry about Ramos? I think you have to worry about Ramos getting knocked out at any time based on his last few fights.
Right,
but.
fair enough. See, here's the thing about Ramos, right? And we've talked about this for a while, so it's kind of funny that the careers potentially mirror imaging each other ever so slightly. But Ricardo Ramos, right from the get-go, and he's only 24 years old, but right from the get-go, we claim this is a poor man's Charles Oliveira, right? He's just like Charles, he's tall, he's lanky, he stands upright, he's very fucking hittable, and he's dynamic, and he wants to finish, and he's scrappy, and he could finish you with a knockout, he could finish you with a submission.
Years to get to his level.
Yeah, and just like Charles, there's a reputation that starts to grow where it's like, dude, once the heat gets put on this guy, he kind of folds up. And they had him fighting good guys, and when he fights low-level guys like Journey Newson and Eduardo Gargarori, yeah, it looks good. And when he fights guys like Said Nurmagomedov, who's not even like, he's not even one of the good Nurmagomedovs. But still, it's like he's not hanging at that upper echelon, but he's only 24 and he's growing and he's developing. And in Lerone Murphy, I just don't know. Like, Murphy's in the same boat. He's young, he's developing, but he might have that style that's just, he's going to be able to win the exchanges, keep this fight standing, scramble when he needs to. And Ramos just doesn't, because he's still green in his own ways. He's got fights under his belt. He's got UFC experience, but because he's still only 24 and he's green in his ways, his biggest trouble in fights is making on-the-fly adjustments. And that's the difference between good fighters and great fighters, right? A lot of fighters can make adjustments between fights, right? Really good fighters make adjustments between rounds, and great fighters make adjustments mid-round. That's what Ramos struggles with, man. He doesn't make adjustments mid-round. He doesn't make adjustments between rounds, and he's kind of struggling to make adjustments between fights at that. He comes in better version of himself. He will be a more refined version of himself. But as of this very moment, I got this as a flat-out pass. But because I'm looking at 145 Lerone Murphy, he gave me a solid effort as a 245 dog his last time out. Without looking at it, just talking just like we just did now, I would be leaning towards Lerone Murphy by decision. But I'd probably have to say pass.
I got something here for
Yeah,
you. So
shoot.
he was plus 120 when he opened. He got bet all the way, Ramos got steamed, and then he got up to like plus 160. Now he's back down to 135.
Oh, wow. It moved since I made this.
Yeah.
just
These are
before
probably
Phillips.
all
it was
soft
normal. It went up.
lines.
And
I think
I have a question though. This is my thing. He's only 7,400 on DraftKings.
Who is? Murphy?
Murphy. So everyone else in his odds range is like plus 275, plus 275.
What
Yeah,
did he?
it's
What,
something
what,
to
what
think
did he
about.
score? What did he score against his last time out against Zahugov? Because that's his problem. Is I don't think he's going to be a high scorer. He can win if you're just looking for a guy that's going to win. He can win, but I don't think he's got the power or nor the submission game. Definitely not the submission game, nor the power to maybe hurt. He could hurt Ramos. I don't know that he knocks out Ramos.
Let's see here. In his last fight, he scored.
Maybe I'm wrong. Guys got finishes. Low level guys though, so that's hard to gauge. Really, one fight in the UFC.
He scored. This was this against who did he fight last time?
Zubair Tukhugov, only fight in the UFC.
Yeah, he scored 22 points.
That's horrible.
Right, and now it was a draw. So
Yeah.
even if you give him the decision win, he didn't score fuck all.
Yeah.
So that's the issue here. Now I'll give you one thing. Fighting Tukhugov, who's got high ring generalship, high ring IQ, fights a Kamaru. People don't love it.
This could be a lot more of a
yeah,
high-paced banger. type
Ramos
of
is
fight.
going to give you a fight. You want to fight out?
Gonna
Ramos
give you
will give you a fight.
opportunities to have a high pace.
So he could score
The winner could
definitely more than
definitely. The winner of this fight could definitely be a good DraftKings play. But it's a high variance type of spot.
Yeah. That's what it
A lot of
sums up.
question marks on both guys.
That's what it sums up to in the end. He gave up 6 takedowns against Tukhugov, so it's very hard to score punches when you're getting taken down 6 times. Ricardo Ramos, if he got 3 and you got up 3 times, he'd have trouble making the. You know what I mean? Like he wouldn't keep chugging through. He's not a chain wrestler. He's not a guy that's going to grit you through. If you were getting up off his takedowns, you'd start seeing he'd become more vulnerable and more hittable and more desperate. And soft openings, soft lines, pick. Lerone
That's the
Murphy.
thing about all of these lines on this card. By the time people get around, they're like, "What odds are they look like?" It's a lot of these lines. The Saturday card ended. People didn't even pay any sort of attention to this card. So like these lines are gonna move a whole bunch from the sounds of it. Like it's moved 30 points on this fight alone, in like an hour since I made this sheet up for the boys. So yeah, obviously, yeah. Look to Cody and I on Twitter. If you need any more questions as the week rolls along, want to watch the weigh-ins for a few of these fights, obviously. All right, we got Modestas Bukauskas taking on Andreas Michailidis. I think I said those right. Minus 230 Bukauskas. Michailidis is plus 190. Any takes here?
Yeah, so we can rifle through a couple of these because, as you'll notice, I started with the top of the card in my brief. What the time I did have. Modesta Bukauskas can't be trusted. Michailidis can't be trusted. You're gonna want to hit a flat. You're gonna want to hit a flat pass on this. If you were looking for something though, Michailidis is at least a plus 190. The reason why Modestas Bukauskas is a flat pass is they'll have you believe he's a finishing machine, and he has finished his last 6 opponents, 6-fight winning streak. He's the Cage Warriors champion. He's fought in deep into the fights. He doesn't seem to have a cardio issue. Looks like a very fun prospect indeed. Both of his losses are very, very quick finishes. He lost a heel hook in 18 seconds to Pavel Dorofte, but he lost to John Redmond by knockout in 1:12. This is especially notable because John Redmond was 5-11 at the time. 5 wins, 11 losses.
Yikes.
He caught Bukauskas walking in 1:12 in, and then the submission loss is 18 seconds into the fight. So you know what? Geez, it was 4 years ago. He hasn't lost since then. He's still young. He's developing. I completely agree. I just don't know that a guy that just tries to bomb on him couldn't catch him still. And there becomes your big issue here is that this Andreas Michailidis. I remember him back. He competed on Bellator. He was in like the season 3 or season 2 light heavyweight tournament. He lost to Jason Butcher in 28 seconds into the second round. Not known for his great chin, but he comes forward on you. His losses, he's got 3 career losses. All 3 of his career losses are by knockout. So I'll fully admit, Bukauskas probably goes out there and knocks him out. However, one of them is getting knocked out. And I don't really like Bukauskas. He's not a great prospect. I don't think he's ultra durable. He's making his UFC debut. The fight's virtually on short notice. He doesn't seem overly big. And I just feel like Michailidis is going to go out on his shield because he always goes out on his shield. So it's a pass for me. One of these guys will probably end up on the optimal because one of them is getting fucking knocked out. And at 9,000, Bukauskas is going to be a better option than a guy like Rasul Alhassan. They both might get first-round knockouts, but one of them is going to save you $200, right? The flip side there is like Alhassan, if he loses, like it's probably just that he gets tired after the first round and it's a later decision. Whereas, if one of these guys loses, I think they're getting clipped. I think they're going down. At 230, it's just too much of a price tag. If it was minus 165, I'd say, you know what? Bukauskas is the better prospect. I would take him. At 230, I really want no part of that. And against a guy who, again, just watch back. If you can go on Fight Pass, you can punch in Andreas Michailidis, and they just one fight for you to watch. It's last April against Marcel Fortuna, you remember, former UFC heavyweight. And it's in Titan FC, and he hits him with a motherfucking spinning back kick to the head, knocks him out. It's wild. It's crazy. And this guy looks big as a light heavyweight against Fortuna. He used to fight a heavyweight. It's like, damn, I want to bet against that guy? Like at 230 versus, I don't know, man. The price is just, it's a dangerous, volatile fight. I can understand needing some exposure to it on DraftKings, but as far as like extended parlays go and a straight pick, like I don't know. It would be a dog or pass, but your best move is
What about
probably
Michailidis 7-1 first round?
yeah.
I don't even know.
Well,
who
I
these
mean, like
guys
I don't
are
want
at this
to
point,
say
so
I don't
have
want to
no
say
idea.
that. Oh, geez, that would be my play. But it's like that's the kind of price that makes it interesting for you. Where it's like, hey, one of these guys probably goes down. The thing is that I think Bukauskas is the better fighter, has the better skill set. It's just I'm playing it that I don't want to go minus 230 on a suspect chin on a guy making his UFC debut on short notice, who I'm not sold on to begin with. Losing to Paul Redmond really just kind of gives you an idea of this guy's going to have to win a lot of fights. Okay, you know what I need to see from him? This is exactly, I mean, John Redmond. Paul Redmond's a featherweight. It's actually serviceable. But this is what I would need to see out of him. I'd need to see him chin checked, fucking kicked in the head, hit in the head, big shot, maybe even go down and get back up and keep going to then be like, he doesn't have a chin issue. But none of these guys have really hit him. And so I don't know. Pass. I'm talking too much about this crap fight. Pass.
We got Jared Gordon taking on Chris Fishgold. Jared Gordon minus 145 favorite. Fishgold plus 125. I like Jared Gordon in fights where I think he has a wrestling advantage. He's able to take down his opponents, and he has a high pressure style, and he can really rack up the takedowns and progressions and the ground and pound strikes. Like that's his bread and butter. Chris Fishgold, former British Olympian in wrestling, isn't
No.
Or-
Yeah, no. I know who you're thinking of, but
Who
that's
am I
not
thinking
him.
of? Did I mess this up?
Yeah, you're thinking about the guy that lost
Clearly,
to-
I'm way too tired to be doing
No,
this show
I'll tell
today.
you his name in a second, and I should know too, but
Fishgold is what, Till's wrestling coach?
no. You got the wrong
Who am
guy.
I thinking of here?
Yeah, if this stupid fucking spell check would spell Nad Narimani, I'll tell you.
That's not who I'm thinking
No,
of.
but that's the guy who
Oh,
just
yes.
beat Narimani is exactly what I'm trying to tell you. His name, the guy you're thinking of, is Mike Grundy.
Yeah, that's who I was
Yeah,
thinking.
exactly. Yeah, no. Chris Fishgold is a shit-eating wild man. Goes for it. Former Cage Warriors champion. Has gone 5 rounds against like Alaskans like Nick Huron Webb, and is just a dynamite. I want to finish you as quick as possible, but he's got cardio issues, and he needs to rely on the submission. Now, Jared Gordon does not look like he can take a punch at all.
No.
And that is a
That's
serious,
the big red flag on him now.
serious freaking problem, man. Because this is a game of punchy kicky to the head. And as much as I like Jared Gordon's story, recovering drug addict, and he comes to the UFC, and he looked good in the UFC his first couple fights, red flag right away was he was taking a lot of damage right from the get-go. He got through Michel Quinones, he got through Hakran Diaz, he took some shots. And when Diego Ferreira knocked him out, and it was like a police brutality video, right? Remember he had him like cuffed? He had the one arm cuffed, and he's just smashing. It's hard. It's like, oh my God, Gordon just got beaten bad. Comes back against Joaquim Silva. Bad knockout. Good fight. He has his moments. They go back and forth. But he gets blasted away in the Ferreira fight. And against Charles Oliveira, why would you even book him in this fight? You must really have a personal vendetta against this guy. But it's like nasty. Doesn't even last 90 seconds.
No.
Minute 26, I think. And just absolutely buzzsawed through. Nasty knockout. How has this guy come back from that? How does he come back from that? I'll tell you how he comes back from it. Chris Fishgold, 18 pro wins, only 3 knockouts. Guys, 10% of his pro wins are by TKO. He's not a power puncher. He's a great submission grappler. He's a guy that loves to go out there, take you down, rip you to the ground, and submit you. And against a former John Hanninger Death Squad brown belt and Jared Gordon, I don't see it happening. And Jared Gordon also has a great gas tank. So honestly, I think Fishgold pushes the pace. Fishgold will swing bombs on him because obviously you're tape
That's gonna
studying.
be the best path
You're
to
tape
victory
studying
for
and
him.
you're seeing how chinny this guy is. And we talk about Shogun's chinny, and what happens is Paul Craig Bergh just swings on him, and apparently it's like even a guy with no knockouts on his record, with no punching power, can seriously hurt you if you just swing. I expect Fishgold to swing on him. But if he doesn't get that knockout, and I'm leaning towards he doesn't get that early knockout, he'll start to tire. When he starts to tire, Jared Gordon's taken over. Once Jared Gordon takes over,
I mean,
he
that
gets it
means
done.
Jared Gordon's the draft, like 8,300.
If he doesn't lose,
I've
he's a
been
DraftKings
begging
game.
to
Yeah.
play Jared Gordon again. When he first
doesn't
started,
stop.
he was just the guy was putting up like 130, 140 points every single time he went out there. Obviously, the chin did not. But even I think it was against. Brazilian guy, Joaquin Silva.
Yeah, great fight.
He
but
scored
those-
he scored like 80 points in a second round knockout loss or some shit like that. Like absurd.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was like 80. But either
and
way, it's
mind
like
you-
he still got the value, lost the fight in like the second round, and he was fine.
Mind you, if I'm walking down the street and someone comes up to me and they say, "What do you think about Diego Ferreira striking?" Well, fuck, sick striker, dude. Guy's got nice hands on him. He loves to swing bomb. Good underrated power. Yeah. Diego Ferreira is a good striker. What do you think about Joaquim Silva? Not as refined, but man, a tremendous amount of power. Swings bomb. And he's a stand-up specialist. At least with Ferreira, he's a BJJ black belt as well. No, this is all Joaquim does. And Charles Oliveira, again, dual specialist. Stand-up looks absolutely on another level. Jiu-jitsu has always been on another level. Yeah, okay, so he's losing to those guys. Chris Fishgold is not a good boxer. He's not a good striker. What he does is he sticks in your face and he tries to break your will, and grind away at you. A guy that cheated death by ODing on drugs has got a will you can't break. He's got a chin you can break. We've seen that, but he's got a will you can't break. Jared Gordon, if he gets through that first round, and I think he will, he perseveres, he gets this win, and he will score handsomely on DK if he gets that victory. So that's what I'm looking at, 145, or
And
minus 145.
Finally, unless I don't have all the fights listed.
You
here on
don't,
our
but we'll
sheet,
just get through these quick.
We have Diana Belbita taking on Liana Jojua. Belbita minus 165, Jojua plus 145. Any thoughts here? I don't.
Well, full disclosure, Diana Belbita, her coach is Crew Alin. He's a friend of mine, and she trains like 20 minutes down the road.
True.
So she makes her UFC debut, and she makes her UFC debut against Molly McCann, and she didn't look good in the sense that didn't look like a future world champion or didn't look like a refined prospect or anything like that. But that's a tough fight for someone who was 23 years old to be coming into the UFC and taking on Molly McCann, who had fights in the organization, was a former Cage Warriors champion, and just had the type of style that I can grind with you and I can take you down. Now, Belbita's from this, I guess in Romania, they got these schools, right? They draft you into these sports schools. You know, Cuba does it with boxing and baseball and judo and stuff like that as well. Romania has these like specialized schools. So Belbita was a specialized student and she took kickboxing. And she's a very good kickboxer. And then after her kickboxing days are over, she's out of school. She's only 24 now. After that's done, it's like, I want to go to the next level. What do you do? Now, Crew Alin, great ties with a lot of Romanian fighters, a lot of Romanian gyms. And he's from those same systems. And he was a world-class kickboxer. And he is currently, for my money's worth, not even just saying this because I like the guy, but for my money's worth, he's the best coach in Canada. He's better than Frost because he's developed his fighters. Frost has had fighters go to the gym that ended up being world champions and great fighters, but Crew Alin's built guys. Now, he hasn't built her. She's from Romania, but she's made that transition of leaving there, coming to Canada, and training with a good team, and her wrestling seems to be getting better. And against the Molly McCann fight, you just see she's very green, right? Like, the takedown defense, she stuffs the first couple takedowns, looks good, but it's like eventually on that second and third attempt gets her down, you know, and then she's throwing up submissions and they look good, but like eventually when they don't stick, you just see her slowly start to wilt away. I expect a fully better version of her. What you saw was an unrefined product that stands to make some improvements. Now, Jojua, I want to believe that Jojua would be the exact same. I mean, Jojua is only 25 years old, and Jojua was the former Fight Night's global champion when she beat Marani Maktina. But then coming to the UFC and fighting Sarah Moras, bad style for her. But boy, oh boy, it was just like there was nothing there. She didn't want to let her hands go. When she did let her hands go, she has no power. Looking on her record, it's all submissions. I stand corrected. She knocked out her second career opponent. She has one knockout victory on her opponent and then some submissions. Well, wasn't going to take Sarah Moras down. Wasn't going to submit Sarah Moras. No plan B. Looked completely lost. Went through the motions and then got TKO by Sarah Moras. There was no real takeaway there. 25, I expect her to get better. If they give her a striker, which they just did, you'll be able to see a little more from her. But there just wasn't enough. Belbita will come in with the better improvements. Belbita will, I think, get the victory. However, all that being said, it's not a good price tag. Like minus 165, it's a women's MMA fight between two girls that are 0-1 in the division. They're both strikers. They both didn't show you the best version of themselves the first time out. And last, but certainly not least, Jojua lost to Sarah Moras at 135 pounds, right? And this fight's at 125. So at least there, she loses her debut at 35. She's dropping down to 125. Important to note, her entire career has been fought at 135 and as high as 145. So her coming down to 125, another fight, you got to look at the scales. If she comes down and is finally fighting in her actual weight class and has some size to her and isn't going to get bullied around as easily this time, at least worth having a look at, worth keeping your eye on before you would go and bet against her, especially because the price tag on fading her is 165. I would certainly say watch the weigh and see what this girl looks at like at 125. And she could come back as a much better version, a much more comfortable version, octagon jitters out of the way, all that crap. and give a better outing. And so for that reason, your best idea is to pass. I know you don't have the next 2 fights listed, so I'll just rifle.
I got them right here. I got them right here.
Yeah.
So you have Aaron Phillips plus 550 against the most expensive player on DraftKings.
Oh yeah, Jack Shore. How did that night
Jack Shore? So they're 94 and 6,800.
It must have been 2 sheets, and I only printed page 1.
Yeah, it's all good. So Jack Shore was obviously the play. They opened the line at 550. It's already steamed to 700, and it'll be just like it'll be just like Rebus. It'll be like Rebus. Oh, it'll go to 900, and then people on the internet will be like, I would never bet the guy who's only 1-0 the UFC at 900, which is not a bad take. Which is not a bad take. Which is not a bad take. But yeah, again, it's like why do you want a guy that's this inexperienced in his UFC career just building up at minus 900? He's minus 7 now, but he will get steamed. Someone will make a bet. He'll come back down to 700 just like Rebus did, and it should somehow float in that range. But what Jack Shore has shown you is just like tenacity, heart, good grappling, and he just sticks at it. His entire Cage Warriors run, man. Put him in a sticky situation, he finds a way to get out. Oh, you got on top of him, you took him down, you hurt him with a punch, you're a better striker, you're a better grappler, you're a better wrestler, finds a way to win, great cardio, actual legitimately good prospect, only 25 years old. He comes to the UFC, they give him a softball matchup with Nohelin Hernandez. Nohelin Hernandez is a professional boxer. He's got some scrappy grappling. It doesn't matter. Shore does what he does. He's not world class yet. He's still young. He's still developing. He's going to make some mistakes, but at least this is somebody worth keeping your eye on. He was supposed to fight Anderson dos Santos. It would have a very good fight for him. Anderson dos Santos has no punching power, but is a big guy and a strong guy, and technically BJJ black belt. Would have at least been a little bit fun in that regard. The issue with Aaron Phillips is that it's going to be hard to get a read on Aaron Phillips. He is a UFC veteran already. His fight in the UFC was when he lost to Sam Sicilia in 2014. He then had another fight against Matt Hobar in 2014, August 23rd.
Crowbar.
Yeah, the Crowbar Hobar. Hobar's only win. Where he lost, and then immediately the UFC cuts him, right? He takes like 4 months off, and then he loses to Chris Gutierrez, who ended up, you guys all know, going to the UFC. And then it was just like he took 3 years off. He just vanished. Comes back, beats Andy Brossett 2-1. It's just 3 years off. That's what you gotta do. A little softball matchup.
Setup fight for sure to win.
Yeah, I missed the adrenaline rush. I got a family now. I got a job. I fucking missed the rush. So you beat a guy that's 2-1. Oh, I felt really good. 4 months later, he beats a guy that's 0-1. Who the fuck signs up to fight a UFC veteran when you're 0-1? Mm-hmm. Beyond me. But anyways, he wins and he's feeling good. 6 months later, he comes back and he beats a guy that's 6-7. It's just like he's not serious about this.
No.
He's not serious about that secondary run. He's
like
30 years old. He's 30 years old.
He hasn't been
so
successful against the right type of people to be successful at this
level. Well,
level.
to his credit, his last 2 fights, finally he takes some steps up. He got a 7-2 opponent, 7-2, and he won a decision. And then he got a 10-5 opponent. He was able to knock him out in the second round. That is so club level, middling, just regional scene level, and not impressive regional scene level. There's no way he gets a shot in the UFC. It wasn't for the fact that his manager manages some other guys in the UFC. He's a standby opponent if somebody falls out, and he's being literally fed to Jack Shore, a legitimately good prospect. Paul, friends don't let friends bet on guys that beat on Matt Hobar. That lost to Matt Hobar, even if it was 6 years ago. You just don't do it. And I can't tell you anything you don't already know by looking at minus 700.
And then
Jack Shore is the big.
The last fight?
The last fight is Jorge Gonzalez. Plus 130, $7,500 on DraftKings against Kenneth Bergh, minus 160.
Oh, yes. We were watching tape on that.
So I told you. I was like, bring that shit up.
We were watching tape on that right before me and Cody were
So
watching
very tentatively because,
I knew he was on the card.
All good. I got to get through this shit.
First sheet, thinking that it was all on one sheet. It's all right.
Okay, so the story on Kenneth Bergh is I just don't think he's all that good. Now, he is tattooed from literally like face tatted and everything, small face tat, but literally he's just tattooed at his entire body. He is one mean-looking motherfucker. You would not want to fuck with this guy. And then the year's 2016, little Cody is watching Ultimate Fighter Season 23. This guy, tatted from literally top to bottom, is trying out at 205 pounds against Eric Spicely, who is billed as a guy that loved fighting people at the skate park. And Eric Spicely choked him out in 33 seconds. It was a laughable experience. Since then, he went back to Cage Warriors. He fought on the regional scene in Cage Warriors, and he's fought absolute mid-level competition and beaten them, but not looked overly good by any stretch of the imagination. Just he's beaten them. Dana White finally says, you know what, we'll give you a Contender Series slot. He fights on Contender Series. That was the fight you were just talking about. We watched. He got steamrolled out of there by Antonio Tricoli. He actually showed glimpses of absolutely nothing. He just pressed him straight into the cage. Didn't throw any punches. Pressed him straight into the cage. Didn't look like he had a sound
Wasn't able to
understanding
drop
of
down to
positioning.
hips. Was
No positioning off that cage. Then Tricoli was able to just judo toss this man, mind you, onto his ass, and then just settled on top of him. He gave up
jumped
the arm
in
triangle choke
like immediately.
right away, and then Tricoli takes his back. He scrambles into the back take right away and gives up the rear naked choke right away.
What are the odds on that again?
On this fight,
The odds are plus
telling you.
one or minus 160, plus 130, but that is shortening by the second.
Okay.
So it was
because Bergh is
170
minus 160 as of the time of this recording.
Yeah,
so
it was minus 185 earlier, and Gonzalez
people are
was
wise
plus
to the
150.
fact that Bergh ain't deserving of a price tag like that.
So to give you the Cody quick rundown. So then now this is his last 5 fights. 1-2 opponent. He beats him by submission. Norman Parisi has a nice record. Norman Parisi was also on the Ultimate Fighter.
Bellator guy too.
Yeah, Bellator guy. Known in the Ultimate Fighter for the French guy that sat between his between rounds was like, I don't want to fight no more. And everyone was making the joke France surrendered in the war, and it was like, fuck you guys, right? I'm part French myself. That Norman Parisi. Yeah, no, he beat Norman Parisi. Okay, fair enough. Then he lost to Tricoli because Tricoli was on steroids, right? Not surprising. And that's not why he looked bad against Tricoli, by the way. He just looked bad. Tricoli ended up pissing positive afterwards. That's a no contest. Now you don't see it on his record. Now you don't see the immediate reasoning on it, but he didn't look good. His fight since then, 0-0 opponent and 14-19 opponent. How he could be the favorite over absolutely anybody is astounding. But what you see is, Jorge Gonzalez is coming in literally in 4 days' notice. He's a Mexican boxer, and I'll take a shot on Bergh. No, he's more than that, man. He knocked out Luke Barnett. This is early last year, but Luke Barnett's over in Russia fighting top guys and is a decent fighter. He then lost to an undefeated top Russian prospect, Nasrudin Nazduranov, who he almost went 2 full rounds with. Impressive to me when you're fighting a guy of this caliber. And then he choked out his last opponent in a minute and 5 seconds. That last opponent was 8-0. He's not that bad. He's fighting an ACA in Russia. He don't mind siding on the dotted line against tough guys. He's had some uphill battles in his career. I think he's most definitely a live dog. Pat says money.
7,500 on
Pat says,
DraftKings.
well, right. And that's the other thing is that anybody can finish Bergh. It's just extend Bergh out 2 rounds and he'll just give it up. So Gonzalez has got to put some heat on him and give it up. The only one thing that would prevent me from taking a real nice little dog stab is that
4 days.
Yeah, 4 days. And like Pat said,
4 days and it's Yas Island.
I fucked Pat. I
that's a
fucked
lot of
Pat on the Max
travel.
Christian pick. I fucked Pat
timing's
on
gonna
the
be all
Maxim
messed up.
Christian pick, right? Because even though I thought Christian had the tools to win this fight, Christian took the fight on 4 days' notice, and he looked like it. He threw punches for 2 minutes and was exhausted, and that was it. Gonzalez is going to have a decent gas tank. That is one thing that's preventing you from going. And I mean, come on, I've spent 45 minutes tape studying this card or something stupid. Maybe more than that, a couple hours. But that's not one of them I spend a whole lot of time on. So I will look at it some more. But the tentative pick would be this has got to be dog or pass, baby. Rifling it through again. I got to get out of here. We are going with.
So we're just.
We're gonna talk DK, but we got to rifle through this.
Yeah,
guy.
I'm fading pretty fast here.
Yeah, so we got we got Dan Ige, underdog. Tim Elliott, -125, so slight favorite. We're gonna take Jimmy Rivera, also a slight favorite. Molly McCann, for some reason, is currently a slight favorite. Rabdul Alhassan, 335. Kazmat Chimaev, 335. We're gonna take Lerone Murphy. That's gonna be our second official dog. I mean, I want to take a flat pass, but I guess $7,200 in draft. I'll take the dog. Fuck it. I'll take Andreas. No. I'm gonna take Bukauskas. The official pick on it is gonna be Bukauskas.
Do not lock in a ton of money on that fight, clearly, because Cody's
Jared Gordon, Deanna Belbita, and then rounding off the last 2 fights, I'm gonna take Jack Shore, and then Jorge Gonzalez is officially the 3rd dog. So this is a 12-fight offering. I'm gonna go with 9 favorites, 3 dogs. Let's get through DraftKings and maybe a few prop bets, but yeah, it's just one. We're gonna have to now do another show on Wednesday, right? Which is the day of the fight. So
I don't think we're gonna do it on Wednesday. We're just gonna watch the fight.
Okay.
We're gonna release the next show. Maybe we'll release it on Friday morning. It's gonna be a little bit later than usual, but I mean, there's 2 fight cards in the week. Well, three fight cards in 7 days. So, and we have. Tiger Woods is back this week in golf, so it's a pretty
crazy
busy
week.
schedule.
I know
for
everybody.
Us in
I know everybody's busy.
Yeah, DraftKings questions. Let's hear them, Pat.
So, best quick finish, like a knockout or a submission.
Alhassan.
Is it Alhassan?
I think so.
Alhassan.
Anyone else? Like you said, the Michailidis guy. The frozen
would-
food man.
Both of them are live
nothing to
for
say
a
about
for a
Yeah, but
quick
I think I would
finish.
want to if I was going to take the gamble at 7,200 for DraftKings.
Then that's fair. He's live for that.
I can't even respond.
What about this Gonzalez guy? If he wins, is it by knockout?
Yeah,
the
I
other
think
guy,
so.
the other
I think
guy
so.
was trying, like, holding a guy against the cage, and then got judo tossed when he kind of got tired, looked lost on his back, gave up an arm triangle. It looks like if things don't go well for Bergh early, he gives up quick. So I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
So the other ones are the
But-
like most takedowns. Elliott and Gordon.
Elliott's always live.
Elliott's absolutely live because he's got the takedowns. The other guy that you're going to want to look at is
Gordon's a high scorer.
Yeah,
when
and I'm
things are
looking,
going well.
and I'm absolutely looking. Okay, here's the crazy thing about this week. You've got Elliott, a
There's
guy
a lot
that's
of good plays on
Elliott
DraftKings.
has broken slates in the past, right? Jared Gordon has absolutely mauled slates in the past.
Yeah.
You got two guys. You at least got one guy in Alhassan who's got a great path for a first round knockout, and you got Kazma Chimaev who could score 2 or 3 takedowns and then sub this motherfucker in the first round. Those are all.
Then you have Jack Shore
brilliant.
up at 9,400.
And Jack
it's just
Shore
like
should
he's a
run the
minus
train on
700
this guy.
favorite.
Yeah,
Man.
and
you
Pat,
can't fit 'em all in
and
one
Pat,
lineup.
No, you can't. However, George Gonzalez, who is a very cheap play, has 16 pro wins, 12 knockouts, and 4 submissions. Motherfucker's finished all 16 of his wins.
Let's go.
Now he's got 5 pro losses, 1 knockout, 4 submissions. Motherfucker never been 21 pro fights. He's never been to the scorecards. So
Gonzalez,
this is the
let's
kind
go.
of guy you want on DK, right? I'm saying this week, you
And
could
then the
break-
beauty
you
of
could have
it-
a great lineup and not make
The
no fucking
beauty
money.
of it,
It could happen.
I love this.
It could happen.
When Gonzalez busts on the first fight of the night, what do? We
Rebuild.
play the televised
Yeah,
card.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you build in that fail safe,
Hey, would
and
I
then
be
you just lose more money.
I just built a lineup.
To all
Would you
you
go with
fans
Shore
watching.
or would you go with your guy, the Swedish Russian guy, Chimaev?
I mean, you save 500 by going down to Chimaev. So
Just
changes the
real
situation
quick
a bit.
for me, do you have their numbers from their last fights? What they put out?
I can find that.
Actually, don't. Let me just tell you 1 second.
Chimaev, it's his debut
Yeah, I would say Chimaev.
at 8,900.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because like Aaron Phillips, for as bad as he has been, he hasn't really shown to be super. Doesn't have really like. He's not chinny. He doesn't have a bad submission game. You know, he's scrappy. He's got nothing to lose. He's fighting for it here. I could see him sticking around a couple rounds and then falling over. Whereas like John Phillips was not expecting to get this call. John Phillips is like, what? Okay.
Who's this guy that I'm fighting?
And again, and when we said, oh, you know what, you got to watch this fight. You got to watch Tim Elliott at the weigh-ins. See, and Ryan Benoit. Let's see what the size is like. I really want to see Taylor Santos at the weigh-ins. You know, like is she way bigger now? Abdul Razal Hassak, is he as jacked as he used to be? You know, John Phillips is a fat fuck when he wants to be. When he's in shape, he's still a fat fuck. But you really got to monitor him at weigh-ins. Believe me. See what he comes
he
in.
could come
at.
in looking like heavyweight Jean Vellante.
And you know what? It don't matter because he's just going to swing them coconuts. And if he hits you with one of them, you're going to sleep. But Chimaev just seems like you don't get a pass out of Russia as a wrestling champion to go to Sweden. What happens is, I don't want to get too far into it, but it's like buying athletes, okay? It's like buying athletes, right? Canada is never going to win an Olympic medal. No, I shouldn't say never. It's going to take a long time to win an Olympic medal in men's wrestling. And it's going to be very, very difficult. What happens is that you sponsor a Russian athlete's visa. He comes over here, gets a citizenship, represents you. Azerbaijan does it all the time. They sell athletes all the time to countries. I've got the feeling that that's why he's in Sweden. He's a top-level wrestler, was able to get out. That shows that he's got pedigree. He's got credentials. He's undefeated. They've given him he's moving up a weight class just to make this debut happen. Maybe he's getting older. He's filling in his frame. I think he's a safe pick. Again, if you've put all these guys on a lineup, if it goes the way I think it's going to go, yeah, you're getting guys with 5-6 takedowns and getting the victory and getting a finish, and you're getting first-round knockouts, guys getting a finish. It's getting that cheap guy, whether it be Gonzalez or whether it be Andreas Michailidis.
Dude, you got
those guys are
dude,
either going to fuck you in the
you got
ace,
Ige
or they're
at
going to make your
71.
ticket.
So
That's
Ige's right there at 71 as well.
And Ige's 71.
5-round
God
fight.
damn,
you
this is
think
a tough
he's gonna
week.
win a 5-round
Give
fight?
me the Millie Maker
71.
on this card.
We can get up there. You can get up to kind of, I don't know. I'll have to toy around, but yeah, with Ige and like a Gonzalez, you can take some heavy hitters for sure.
Yeah, and Jared
A lot
Gordon,
of good plays though. That's
Jared Gordon's
it's gonna be tough.
8,300. He could score 5 takedowns and still get a second-round TKO
Yeah.
or his finish. You know, my God, it could be a big week. But as I say
Big
that,
high-scoring week.
nothing in life is
Over
that
700
simple.
points
Nothing
is
in life is that
definitely in
simple.
play this week, I think, for the
Before
winners.
Paul falls asleep and you need to go, how dare you disrespect Daniel Igali? Canadian wrestling gold medalist in 2000.
I remember that guy.
Was he a heavyweight? What did he wrestle at?
I don't know. He was a freestyler guy. I just remember he won a gold medal in Sydney. I just remember.
You know what? Extremely impressive. And I shouldn't say like, oh, Canada doesn't have good wrestlers. It's just so few and far between, man. Like, and I'll tell you something. Winning the Olympic gold medal, very impressive. Go win the world championship. I'll tell you, there's a tournament as tough, if not tougher than the Olympic Games. You know, Olympic Games, you got to draw properly. Those World Games, man, Jesus. That's why you know Jordan Burroughs is the real deal. He's won at every single level. He's the greatest.
Yeah.
Some of these other guys, Ben Askren, for example, a great college guy, made the Olympics. You would not have lasted no fucking time at the world level. Yoel Romero, guy lasted at the world level and an Olympic level. There's when they say there's levels to this, it's like jiu-jitsu, just like wrestling. That there are levels to this, and I think that level, Phillips gets taken down by bad wrestlers. You know, Charles Bird's taking his ass down and kicking his ass. Anybody named Kazmat, Kamzat Chimaev should have his way with him.
Sounds good to me. Any final questions there, Pat?
No, I'm good.
All right.
Okay, so yeah,
That wraps
Can
it up
wrap
for
it
us
up.
this week. Thank you, Cody Saftic, breaking down the fights with me as always. Thank you to Pat for all the sweet cuts and everything behind the glass, all the prop bets, look up, all the research. Pat's been doing a great job for us. So for Pat and Cody, I'm Paul saying goodbye and good luck.
Fat Mayo Experience! Experience!